Hello and welcome to Downriver Rescue Connection. I'm your host, Patty Trevino, and it's my privilege to bring you information on animal-related topics in the animal rescue community. On today's episode, unfortunately I have to start off with a sad note. Basil's buddy's hospice dog Crandall passed away a few weeks ago. I know some of you saw him on some of our previous episodes, so I just wanted to let our viewers be aware of what happened with him, and also we're going to dedicate this show in his memory. So this show is dedicated to Sir Winston Crandall, who is the hospice dog from Basil's buddies. That being said, on this episode, we have a special guest who we've been trying to get on the show for quite a while. She's been on our radar, and we finally were able to connect and get her on. So I'd like to welcome Patty Trevino from the River Rouge Animal Shelter to the show. So welcome, Patty.
Thank you so much, Patty.
Yeah, so I want to start off this episode actually by showcasing one of your dogs. You have Sunny that's over here, who is now sitting quietly, but Sunny was not so sure about the cats, so we wanted to bring out Sunny first. And Patty's going to tell you all about Sunny.
Sunny is 1.5 years old. She's spayed. She came in as a stray. We've had her at the shelter for several weeks now. She's very friendly. She loves people. She's not crazy about cats, or she likes them a little too much, so she should go to a home with no cats, and probably no other female dogs. She's very friendly and very nice, and very nice little dog.
Okay, and yeah, and once she was in our studio without the cats here, she did calm down and was laying nicely. But as Patty had said, a home without cats would be best for her. So we are going to let Sunny exit the studio, and we are going to be right back in just a few moments. Okay, well, now that we have resituated and we brought some other animals in, which you'll see towards the end of the show, I wanted to talk with Patty about the River Rouge Shelter. So, Patty, tell us about the River Rouge Shelter. Not a lot of people even know it's there. So, can you tell us just a little bit about it?
Well, we're obviously in the city of River Rouge. Up until about 1.5 years ago, it wasn't rescue friendly, and we're rescue friendly now. And we have a nice volunteer team, but we need more volunteers.
Now, a lot of the shelter, though, a lot of the story of the shelter, it has definitely come to light. Like before, people, like I said, people didn't know it was there, and in the last 1.5 years or so, it's kind of come on the radar, and a lot of that has to do with you. So, how did you get involved with the shelter, and how has it changed from when you first started?
I got involved first by asking if I could go in there and volunteer, and the city council said yes, I could, and I went in there, and the animal control officer would give me some of the animals, and I would contact rescues. And then after a while, they offered me a job as shelter attendant. And I contacted Michigan Humane Society because it was really dark in there, and we only had a small hot water heater. We just didn't have any accommodations that were nice for the animals. And I knew at that point that because a lot of people struggle with even going into a shelter, if they came into the shelter and saw what it looked like, they might not want to help. So Michigan Humane Society helped us by giving us what was called a rover hall, and it brightened up the place, and it made it real cheerful. And then, through Facebook, volunteers started coming, and we worked really hard to get the animals on Facebook and contact rescues. And now, from what I understand, it had a record of not very many of any animals coming out of there, and 100% of our adoptable animals now have gone to rescue or been adopted.
And that's really great. That's wonderful. Can you tell us how much space do you have for dogs and cats in the shelter? Because I know that you're small, and people think, oh, it's not a big deal, but because you are on the smaller side, you fill up really fast. So, how many dogs and cats can you get in the shelter?
We have 10 kennels, but they like us to keep 2 of them open for the police in case of an emergency. and right now we have 9 dogs.
Okay.
So we're, you know, a little nervous. We haven't had to even think about euthanizing anything for space, and so of course we're nervous about that. So people don't realize how small we are. We can probably hold about 10 cats, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very small. It's just one big room divided into 2.
Okay.
It's very small.
So I know some of the things that you really need assistance with at the shelter is, one, just exposure, because the shelter before, like I said, a lot of people didn't know about it, and now that changes have been made, you want to get that information out there. So I hope that this show helps you to get some of that exposure. But a lot of the exposure actually comes through volunteers coming in and helping and assisting and creating events and going to different things. So tell us, like, what are some of the things that volunteers do at your shelter?
Our biggest need at the shelter is people to come in and walk the dogs.
Okay.
Get the dogs out of there so that we can clean the kennels. We don't have a lot of room to move them around, and of course we would not want to have to clean them while they're in there. So we need somebody to actually take the dog out, walk the dog, so we can clean the kennels. We really need help with fundraising, because whenever we get a sick animal in there, we like to get them to the vet, and you can't do that for nothing. So we need to do fundraising, and we don't have a fund. We're so new that we just basically have help at the shelter. We don't have a lot of help on the other levels for fundraising or transporting, things like that. We really need that.
Okay, and that's something that a lot of times, that's kind of a good crossover, because if some people don't like to volunteer in the shelter environment, we all know that, and they volunteer elsewhere, which is fine, but you actually have volunteer opportunities that are not necessarily inside the shelter, and they're still helping the shelter. So that's a great way for people who want to get involved, but can't actually emotionally be in the shelter environment.
Right.
And I know that you've done several events lately. I know I've seen posts on Facebook. So what are some of the events that you guys have gone to?
Well, back in December we had a bake sale at Bubble Puppy in Trenton, and really I think we raised, like, I'm not sure if it was $900 or $1,100, but it was a lot of money. That was one event that we did, and then we did another one a little closer to Christmas at some I don't know what the name of the grooming place was. We did a small little fundraiser there. We had calendars made up to celebrate the first year of the shelter, being volunteer friendly. So we had calendars made up, like I said, and sold them, and so that's another fundraiser that we did.
Okay, and so some of these things, like the events help to fundraise, they help to get exposure as well for the animals, and so these are some of the things that volunteers, if they want to come in, that they can help you guys set up these types of events, because that's something that you really need. Events, we just did a show on a fundraising event, and we're going to go do another one shortly, because we want people to know that fundraisers aren't just about raising funds. Obviously that's part of it, but it's really about the exposure for the animals and exposure for the rescue or the shelter that's putting that event on, so people know that you're there.
Yeah.
So so definitely. Now I know we were talking before the show as well, and you said one of the things you really need is a grant administrator.
Yes.
So what type of grant do you guys have that you need help with?
Well, we have the spay and neuter grants. We're not sure exactly how it's to be used, and we're not sure who makes those decisions.
Okay.
So we could use some help with that.
Okay, so it's for the shelter animals, so it's something that you can get the shelter animals spayed and neutered, but you need somebody to be able to go in to look through the fine print of the grant, somebody that understands grants, look through the fine print and say, okay, this is how it's supposed to be used, this is when it needs to be used by, this who has to make the decision. So if there's anybody out there that has that type of experience that wants to help the shelter, even if they can go in and just look at all the fine print for you guys and set something up, if they can't stay and administer it, at least they can set up that system for you guys.
Right.
And so that would be very useful if there's anybody watching that has that type of experience. So, so what are your goals for the shelter?
Well, I would like to what I would like to see happen is a solid volunteer program in effect. I would just like to see. I don't know.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm just drawing a blank. I would just like to see. I really would like to see more of our own community in River Rouge get involved. We haven't really had much. We've had a couple people from River Rouge help out, but I would like to see more of the local people getting involved. Other than that, we're doing so well now, I can't even imagine doing better, but I would like to see it stay the way it is now, where most of the animals are being adopted and getting out, going to rescue, or being adopted, going on to better lives.
Okay, great. So, and again, I mean, I'm hearing, and if people are catching this theme here, is I'm hearing again, it's you really do need volunteers to come and assist you, because obviously you need people to come in and help take care of the daily tasks of the animals, cleaning and all that type of stuff. But when you're talking about getting your community involved, it'd be great for somebody that wants to come in and do a community outreach event, because there's a lot of things that, I know we were talking before about a lot of things like education in the community, getting that information out there, and there's only so much people can do by themselves. Like, we're all a community in the rescue world. We have to all work together. So if there's people that can come out and assist them, that seems like really like to get you've done a wonderful job of getting Rouge to where it's at right now, and I think you need more volunteers to help push it to that next level. It's like you said, like it's beyond what you can even imagine right now, because it's right now you accomplished your goals, which is great to get it where it's at. And if you've got more volunteers coming in with more ideas that have a lot of energy to do things, you can do community education and all different sorts of things that I know that we've talked about before that you were looking forward to doing. So,
yes.
So now, who are some of the rescue partners that you've worked very well with?
Some of the local rescues like WAG Animal Rescue, Paws of Michigan has been really helpful. Both of those rescues not only have taken animals from us, they've also donated to us money for our vet bills, a scanner to look for microchips. They've kind of taken us under their wing a little bit and have really looked out for us. Voiceless Michigan in Lansing has been a tremendous help. Semper Fidelis has helped us. PAW, P-A-A-W, I believe they're in Warren. They've helped us. We've had several that have really, Last Day Dog Rescue, I mean, I could go on and on.
Okay.
Tiger Lily Cat Rescue, we've really had more help than I could ever imagine. I couldn't do what I do if we didn't have the help. I would have been discouraged right out of the starting gate, but it seems like people have really come to our rescue, literally, figuratively, and helped our animals.
That's great, and that's really a wonderful example for you to talk about all these rescues, is because that's part of the impetus behind this show, is to show the public that are not really that involved in the rescue community that we do all work together. It does take a village, and we're not there to compete with each other. We're all there for the animals, and that's the message that we want to get across. So that was very...
oh, absolutely, the village. I mean, no one person can do it alone. It takes several. It takes, the person that's sharing on Facebook. I always say sharing works because it works. We've seen it. We'll put a picture of a dog on there, and as you know, people share and share and share, and you just never know who that link might be that is the answer for that animal in particular. So yes, definitely takes a village. No one should be in competition. Everybody should learn to work together.
Right, and that's really one simple thing that people can do. Is even if you don't want to volunteer in the shelter environment, or you can't, for whatever reason you don't have the time. If you're on Facebook, just one simple share. You don't have to share every single animal. Maybe you find one that tugs at your heartstrings, or you're like, oh, I really wish this one would get a home. Just share that one.
Yeah, and it really,
it does work. I've seen a lot of animals saved that way.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. That's it. Sharing works.
Now, at the beginning of the show, you were...
Can I just say one more thing? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because we're out of the way, I mean, we border Detroit, we border Delray. A lot of people might think, oh, I don't want to go there. We've never had any problems in a year and a half. I mean, no one has bothered us at the shelter, but we don't get a lot of people walking in to look for a dog or look for a cat. We just don't get a lot of, we're out of the way. So people aren't passing by. Most people aren't coming to River Rouge for anything in particular. Like they wouldn't be going shopping at a mall and say, oh, I'm going to stop by the shelter. So we're off the beaten path. We really depend on the internet, Facebook, social media to give our animals exposure.
Okay, what are your hours that you open for people?
Right now it's 10 till 12, Monday through Saturday. We are open sometimes in the evenings. I mean, we're there, volunteers are there, but we're not always open for the public. But we do like to work with people, and if somebody can't make it in the morning, we will try to be there in the evening when they can. We just ask them, you know, when can you be here? So
Okay.
we'll work with them.
Now, I started the beginning of the show, obviously, with an announcement about our hospice dog, but you had told me that you also had a story about a hospice dog that was involved with the Rouge Shelter. So can you talk about that?
I can. He wasn't really involved with the Rouge Shelter, but honestly, when you talk about people not being able to walk into a shelter, I was that person. I can't stress it enough. I can't impress upon people enough that I was that person that couldn't walk into a shelter. I wanted to for years go into River Rouge and help the animals there, but I just couldn't. And when I did finally approach my city about going in there, and they said I could, then I backed off a little bit because I didn't think I could. And then I saw a senior dog at Taylor Animal Shelter when I was there to walk dogs, and he was sick with cancer. And I took him home with me, and he lived 8 weeks. And his name was Troy, and he really is what really caused me to dig deep down and find my courage to go into the shelter and say, you're going to do it. Animals may come in there just like Troy, and you know, you can offer them something, and that's why I did it. So one of my volunteers gave me a picture of Troy to hang on our calendar, and we have it up in the shelter, and he really is. We really feel strongly that our shelter is blessed, and it's because of Troy. And the volunteers just happened to show up there, and I always wonder, how did they find us? But somehow they just did. And I really firmly believe it is because of Troy.
Okay, and that's one of the things I try to tell people too, is that if you're able to care for a hospice animal, you know, at first you feel like you're providing them something, you're providing them a gift, and you are, but actually they end up teaching you so much, and they end up giving back to you and changing your life in ways that you can't even imagine. And you just, you know, at first you just take them in and say, oh, I think I'm just going to help them, but they're the ones that end up changing your life.
Oh, absolutely. That dog, we crossed paths for a reason, and he was just an extraordinary. I made him a Facebook page, not right away, but somebody suggested, you know, you should make him a Facebook page, so I did, and it's called Troy the Extraordinary Pound Puppy, because he was just extraordinary.
Okay, that's great. Well, I want to bring out some of your other animals that you've brought today for adoption. So we're going to start with one of the cats. So you can tell us who this little cutie is.
This is Candy. She was an owner surrender. She's about a year old. She's very friendly.
She's dressed for the occasion.
Yes, she's dressed up. This is actually her Easter bonnet.
Okay.
But she's very friendly. She's a sweetheart.
And I just want people, we'll see if we can
She
get
doesn't
her.
want-
She doesn't want to face the camera,
she
which
doesn't
we know
need-
sometimes happens. Animals are camera shy on the show.
I don't blame her. I am too.
But, you know, I wanted to let people know that she has been sitting in the volunteer's lap this entire time that we've been filming next to a dog. So she's a very calm kitty. And if she can be in the studio under these lights next to her dog, just sitting and not trying to escape, I think she'd make somebody a really good pet. So.
She's very much a sweetheart.
And you can dress her up.
Yeah.
All right, so this is, you said it's Candy?
This is Candy.
Candy, all right.
Yep.
So Candy's available from the Rouge Shelter.
She is spayed and up to date on shots.
Okay, great. So next we're going to bring out another one of the dogs that you brought with you today.
This is Anya.
We'll see if Anya will cooperate for the camera.
Should she come right here?
Nope, she's fine right there. So tell us a little bit about Anya.
Anya, we believe, is 1 to 1.5. She's a female, and we think she's a Catahoula mix. Very friendly, very obedient, loves to please, good with people, men, women, it doesn't matter, kids. She's just an all-around really, really good dog.
Great.
When we got her, she was emaciated. She's putting on some weight now. She's spayed and up to date on vaccines as well.
Great, and she was sitting there right next to the cat and not bothering the cat, so I think she'd be fine in a home with cats. So
absolutely, we think she'd be good with other dogs, cats, kids. She's just an all-around well-balanced dog.
Great. Well, thank you for showing us Anya, and we have one more cat that's coming out here today.
This is I forgot his name.
Which one is this?
Max. Thank you. This is Max, and he's a real sweetheart, and he's neutered. Come here, Max. Come here.
So this is Max, and about how old is Max, do you think?
He's about a year.
About a year old.
Mm-hmm. Very friendly, very tolerant, very playful, loves to play. Just a real sweetheart. Max.
Okay, great. And so if anybody is interested in Max or Anya or Candy or Sunny, they can contact you guys. They can get in touch with you on Facebook, or we're bringing up the information at the end of the show that has your phone number and the email address as well. And you have lots of other animals, so if these guys are adopted when you contact, then obviously they can check out the other animals that you have. So that's great. So thank you for showing us all of the animals.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so are there any other messages that you really want to get across to the public?
Well, in general, I do believe in spaying and neutering, because we get a lot of people that come into the shelter to reclaim their dogs, and we'll ask them, you know, can we help you to get them spayed? And we hear a lot people saying, we just want them to have one litter, and we say, why one litter? We have a shelter full of animals. Right. So spay and neuter, absolutely, and also take them inside. We have a lot of chained up dogs in our community, and thankfully our city is working on that as well to stop that. So,
okay, great. So, and again, you know, I just wanted to remind people that, you know, the things that you really need the most, like, first of all, like, again, you've done a great job of taking the shelter from a place where people didn't really know anything about it, a place you said most animals didn't make it out of there because nobody knew about it, and you've done a great job of turning that around, making it a place that people actually want to come visit, going to your 100% success rate, and we want to keep you guys there. So you know you're in need of exposure, you're in need of volunteers, and so if there's anybody that wants to help you guys, whether it's helping you guys inside the shelter or helping create events, this is a great way for people who really want to be creative. Maybe somebody comes to you and says, hey, I had an idea and I want to do this event and I'll plan it all. I know that you guys would be open to that, So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of times people will say, we want to do an adoption event, and they don't realize that there's a lot of work. It's like, yes, that would be great, but I can't do all the footwork. So if you're willing to do the footwork, run them to the vet, be there the day of the adoption, there's a lot of work involved that people don't really realize. So, yeah, and I can't emphasize enough, thanks, Christy, emphasize enough the wonderful volunteers that we do already have. We have some fantastic, very committed volunteers that are there already, but we need more.
Okay, great. So again, if you want information about the River Rouge Shelter, you're looking to adopt any animals, check them out. Or if you're looking to volunteer somewhere and you maybe have a little bit more leeway in creating a type of event or taking on a much larger role, they'd be able to accommodate you at the River Rouge Shelter. So thank you so much, Patty, for coming on the show and talking about the shelter.
Thank
we
you
really
for having
appreciate
us.
it. Yep.
Thank you.
So we
Appreciate
all,
it.
yep, you're welcome. So we all look forward to a day when all pets are treated like family and everyone has a home. Until that time, we invite you to be part of the solution. And remember, please spay and neuter your pets. See you next time.
Yeah.